Aloha mai kako, everyone. Welcome back. This is Caselta Eza Vincent, licensed marriage and family therapist. In our last session, we talked about using the feeling wheel and grounding techniques to build emotional awareness and returning to the present moment. Today, we're going to take it a step further by exploring something that's been incredibly helpful to me, both as a therapist and a mother. It's called mindfulness. Mindfulness is one of the most simplest, most powerful tools we have for calming our nervous system and reconnecting with ourselves. And it's something we can do anytime and anywhere. So, what is mindfulness? Mindfulness means paying attention on purpose and in the present moment without judgment. It's noticing your breath, your body, your emotions, or even your surroundings with a sense of curiosity instead of criticism, right? A lot of the time, like I shared in the last video, when I have to close my eyes because my surroundings can be so triggering. So, being able to scan and be present and understand and be curious about your surroundings allows you to take you away from just the criticism that you're creating within your head and go back in and saying, okay, these are the facts of the situation right now. Let me pause and come down. Now, I want to be clear, mindfulness isn't about being calm all the time. We wish, right? But it's getting rid of, or even getting rid of our feelings. We are meant to have our feelings. Our feelings serve as a purpose. Mindfulness, it's about learning to notice what's happening inside us without reacting right away. Again, it's that pause and slowing down. It's creating space between the trigger and your response. As parents and caregivers, that space is everything because in that space we get to choose how we want to show up. And for me, I want to show up authentically how I want to be proud of myself and show up in front of my girls and not be judgmental when I'm just being kind to myself, right? Not being able to show up in the way that I'm proud of for myself, most importantly, and especially for my daughters. So, why is mindfulness important, or why does it matter for parents? We get pulled in so many directions. We manage routines, behaviors, emotions, sometimes our child's and our own, all at once. And that is a struggle. That is difficult to do, having so many balls in the air and trying to manage everything. That is overwhelming. And it's easy to become reactive or emotionally checked out. Mindfulness brings us back to our bodies and our breath. It helps us respond instead of react. When we practice it regularly, we're not just calming ourselves, we're modeling emotional resilience for our children. We're showing them that like what it looks like to slow down, what feeling we're feeling, and still choosing kindness and connection, right? Despite all of these heavy emotions, modeling for them that we can't slow down, that we should slow down. So for this video, I am using the Mindfulness Skills Worksheet from Therapist Aid. You will receive a copy either through email or mailed out, and you can use it as a reminder of things that you can do when you are experiencing heavy emotions, big feelings, or mentally spiraling. So you get a copy of this, but as a reminder from my last video, some of the grounding techniques include the five senses. This is my go-to technique, right? Just like the state change, closing my eyes. So again, it is naming five things you see, four things you can touch, three things you can hear, two things you can smell, and one thing you can taste, or one thing that you appreciate about yourself, or challenges of and what you're grateful for. You can do this out loud, silently, or even turn it into a game with your child. I've done this especially in car rides, right? I instead of doing my girls love saying doing I Spy, but I want to encourage a lot more emotional talks or emotion identification so that it is ingrained in them. So it would be things that five things you see, five things you're feeling, or not five things you're feeling, but five things that you felt today is one of the things that I ask, especially after school. And it just brings your attention out of the racing thoughts and be back into your body and be in the right moment or the here and now. So those are the things that you can do. Mindful breathing, as we talked about, the box breathing, that is really, really helpful that you can do in the moment. Your breath is always with you, and it's the most powerful regulator of our nervous system. We underestimate the power of slowing our breathing down. That when we are overwhelmed, we have this fight or flight where we're just overwhelmed. We want to get out, we want to fight, right? Our body is just not fight literally, but our body is tensing up because we're just so overwhelmed, and the best thing that we can do is slow our breathing down, slow the the movements that we're doing, right? Instead of go go go, is like really taking that pause. And another way that you can regulate your breathing is placing a hand on your belly so that you notice your breath at that moment. And again, you can do that with the box breathing, right? Inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and then you repeat it 3 to 5 cycles so that you feel this subtle change after you do that. And sometimes it could be more, sometimes it could be less. The more we practice and regulating our body and our nervous system, the better that we get, right? Another technique we can do is body check in. This is where you scan from head to toe and you ask yourself, where am I holding tension? For me, I hold a lot of my tension in my shoulders, right? I get really tight up in my shoulders when I'm frustrated. I tend to kind of cower or I just get really, really tense and it's not relaxed. So or or another place that I hold tension is my jaw. I'm just holding it right there and then I notice once it starts getting tense or uncomfortable and I'm trying so hard to regulate and I'm just pausing but I'm not doing it in a way that is healthy for me. So you can soften my shoulder and that is a signal for me, right? Pay attention to your body. Your body is speaking and you're not listening. Unclench my jaw. You can, for little kids, wiggling their fingers or their toes just to get them back into the body and away from the the chaos that's going on in our mind. This reconnects you with your physical self, especially when you've been in your head all day, right? As a therapist, I am having to remind people, go back into your body. You know, we live a lot. We live up here. As a therapist, I try to bring them down to belly and the feeling and then feel that feeling, right? Identify where that feeling is. So emotions in the moment. This is where the feeling wheel comes in, right? As I shared, the feeling wheel, keeping it on hand with you is very important so that you're able to identify what is it rather than the the normal I'm mad, I'm sad, or the words that we typically use. What is the root feeling? What did I begin to feel? What was the triggering feeling that when unmet or unseen, then it became this. It became angry when in reality this was the root feeling. And you ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Before it gets to the point where it looks angry or it looks like it's anger, and try to move beyond that. And maybe you're feeling overwhelmed, invisible, unappreciated, right? For a mom, we do so many things, so many unsaid, unspoken, a lot of mental checklists that we're going through, and we can feel underappreciated sometimes. Motherhood is a very, or parenthood is a very thankless job, right? We just do. So you don't have to change what you're feeling, but naming it is a challenge. Right? So we can do that exercise and use the feeling wheel. And lastly, there's also mindful intention, right? Setting a small intention on how you want to move forward. For example, you can say, I want to speak with more patience, especially with our little ones. I want to speak with more patience. It's easier for them to receive the information when the tone, there's patience there. Or you can say, I want to take 3 deep breaths before reacting, right? When I've already said, be careful, don't do that, or let me help you with the milk, and then they race, and then before, when everything is chaotic and they're not listening, take a deep breath, be clear within yourself, and not react. It's a challenge, it takes a lot of practice. Or one thing that I'm working on saying to myself more is that I want to give myself grace today. We don't oftentimes I always say this is that instead of us being in the back burner, us meaning ourselves, Cassell, before I was a wife or a mother or a therapist, I was Cassell. And so how do I give Cassell grace today? Being mindful and making sure that, quote unquote, not that we're in the back burner, but oftentimes we don't even make it on the stove. I often say that because then we don't. We forget ourselves in the day to day, right? So I want to give myself grace today is very powerful, and for me, I'm working at reminding myself to give myself grace. Mindful intentions keep us anchored to our values, even in the midst of chaos. So reminding ourselves of all these things that we can do, and giving ourselves grace when we're doing it is so powerful. And I think for me, giving that permission to slow down, to give myself grace, that it's okay, that I'm doing my best, even that self talk when I'm feeling overwhelmed or feeling as, am I a good enough mom? Did I do the right thing? Reminding myself that I'm just doing the best that I can at the moment, and my intentions are pure, and my intentions are to be a good example, to model, and to be a good parent, and that's all we can ask for. Is just being present, right? So these exercises help us be present, and it takes a lot of practice. So how about if we do a quick guided practice or not guided meditation, but just a way to remind ourselves like these. It could be short little exercises that you can do for yourselves that could be helpful. So you want to take a moment and get comfortable in your seat, or maybe you want to stand up, you've been sitting all day, or however you are. Get comfortable in your position and kind of wiggle and let your shoulder relax. Bring your attention to your breath. You don't have to change it. You just notice it. Right? Are you breathing fast? Are you breathing slowly, medium? Pay attention to that. Now begin to do a quick body scan from head to toe, but just do a quick body scan. Continue making yourself feel comfortable. And you start at your forehead Relax your jaw, drop your shoulders, soften your hands, and let your belly rise and fall gently as you take a breath in and you breathe out. Now quietly ask yourself, how are you feeling today? And just notice. Now set a gentle intention for the rest of your day. When you're ready, you can think and keep that intention in your heart. Give yourself grace today. Notice, slow down, and that is mindfulness. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. It's your presence. It's about returning to yourself over and over again, anchoring yourself, grounding yourself. And you don't need a full hour of silence, even if sometimes we really need it or want it. But you can just take moments to check in and have a quick meditation by just closing your eyes. And over time, those moments start to change the way you feel in your body and how you show up for your family. And like I mentioned, it's exercising these new tools. It just doesn't happen right away. It's us being mindful and intentional and practicing when we are in the midst of chaos, right? As they say, you don't know if your parachute is working until you need it, right? So when you are faced with challenges, big emotions, chaos in the day, these are the times to practice these tools. I encourage you to choose just one practice from the worksheet this week, maybe the five senses or box breathing or the quick meditation, closing your eyes and creating an intention and just a state change, and use it when you're feeling overwhelmed, getting tense. All of those times is the best time to practice these skills. Mahalo again for being here and continuing to show up for your growth and your family's healing. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call, email me, contact me. I will again include my contact information at the end of the video, and I will see you in the next session.